Good, beautiful moment in time. Eternal moment of now. Greetings, dear friends and community. This is Katerina, and this live stream will be dedicated to a very special being, the keeper of ancient flame of wisdom and a very special lineage. So I am going to begin in a few moments. So if you just arrived, make yourself comfortable. I feel the sweetness and the beauty of this transmission. And today we are still in the portal of the full moon, a very special lunation. We're also approaching a very significant turning point on July 25th and then 26th. So, a lot of beautiful cosmic galactic energies are coming through. July 26th, we have Galactic New Year according to the Mayan wisdom tradition. So while I give more people an opportunity to join, I'm so excited to have this amazing conversation with you about a sovereign, wise, visionary woman who impacted humanity in a very significant way, and her legacy lives on. And every July 22nd, we honor her legacy. And it's not only her legacy, we honor entire lineage of priestesses, priestesses of the rose, priestesses of the sacred feminine, and also we honor everything they stood for, everything they risked their lives for, everything that they dared to bring through the embodiment, through the example, through a new way of interacting, through a new way of teaching, through daring to challenge the old paradigms that were darkening and suffocating the light. So this is just the beginning of this exploration together of the mystical side of the story of the Mary Magdalene and her incredible legacy that she left behind. And before we go any further, if you and I meet for the very first time, it's such a delight to be with you. I love hosting live transmissions. And after this video will be finished, it will be posted on my YouTube channel and my Instagram. And just a few words about me. My work in the world is centered around visionary leadership. I'm a mentor, a teacher, and speaker, and I fuse ancient wisdom teachings with modern futuristic leadership rooted in consciousness and positive impact of the world. I love sharing archetypal wisdom. So we're going to name an archetype of a priestess that we can all tune into, because that archetype is available to all of us. Priestess for women and priest for a man, right? And every year we celebrate Mary Magdalene Day. And the more you travel on the path of the soul, the more mystical your journey becomes. And truly, to activate mystical consciousness is to activate your deepest soul potential. So if you are drawn to mystical teachings, there is no coincidence. It means that your soul, through many, many, many lifetimes, have been reaching its ripeness, reaching its blooming, that you knew that this lifetime you are going to experience a mystical dimension of life, and not only read about it in different books, and I love books, I have many of them, and if you're drawn to mystical teachings, is because you are here to learn through experience. You're here to activate the divine consciousness while in form, And you are here to be an example of an integrated human being who lives and embodies her soul truth. And this is what Mary Magdalene is an example of. It's an example of a woman who was a true revolutionary, who was a true sacred activist, right? And she was working within the confines of a very oppressive times, of a very dark times in humanity. So when I contemplate on the historical era that Mary Magdalene and Yeshua and mother of Yeshua, Mary, and the grandmother Anna, all of these powerful master souls, right? It's these ancient souls who decided to take incarnation at a very dark time of humanity, where the environment was very hostile to a liberated, sovereign feminine expression. You could easily be stoned to death if you would express your beliefs, your perspective, if you could share your healing abilities out in the open as a woman. So there was a lot of risk, right? And this is the part of a visionary heart. A visionary heart knows the risks that are involved in carrying out their divine mission, and they are choosing to move forward and to answer the call of divine mission nonetheless. And this transmission will be infused with the vibration of divine mission. It's different than your creative expression, which is very important for all of us for our fulfillment. It's different than meaningful success, very important, and it's a different vibration. Divine mission is your sacred soul assignment. When you're being summoned by your soul, by the team of guides who are participating in design of your divine mission here on the planet. Divine mission is something that you will attempt to run away from at least a few times. Right? And this is why it's so important to have your community of your allies, of your fellow visionaries and luminaries, people who carry the flame, the ancient flame of the heart. So when in the moment of vulnerability and fear and weakness, when you begin to wobble in your commitment, which can be a very understandable experience to go through, you can turn to somebody who understands the path, your missionary ally, your mission-centered ally, your companion, your beloved, your soul family, who can uplift your spirit and encourage you to believe that you are supported on the path of divine mission. So, who was Mary Magdalene and why do we honor her? And when I tune into her story, we receive the richness of her story through the channeled transmissions, right? Very few written text survived from her time. And she also, she belongs to a lineage that was centered around oral tradition, which a teacher will be passing the teachings through speaking them in the moment, direct transmission. Very, almost nothing was written down, except if you go to ancient temples of Egypt, which was the center of education and the mysteries at that time. And if you were trained in understanding how to read the inscriptions on the temple, all the codes, all the mystery teachings were encoded on the temple's walls. And initiates of mystery schools were trained how to decode those symbols and how to take those teachings to navigate their reality, to navigate their incarnation on this planet. Hello, how are you? Are you receiving this, great ascended masters? I am so happy to be here with you, beloveds. And the way the mystery teachings, they come to us as remembrance, right? We don't really learn them. we activate remembrance. The memories of these teachings are in our DNA. And what happens, we agree to be activators for each other. So we show up in each other's lives at assigned time. And through symbols and our vibration and our storytelling, we assist each other in remembering the lineage that we are a part of, right? So this is the beautiful, this is what happened for me when I first saw an ankh, one of my favorite examples, right? I saw an ankh. This is the symbol of the key to life, ancient symbol of initiation, ancient symbol of a code of life, right? And when I saw it, I said, I remember this. I remember this, and I get to learn. And what do I remember about this? And this is how my remembrance became, is through symbols and through these kind of a mystical soul crumbs and almonds. And I would follow that remembrance, and I would dig deep and begin connected to these beings on different planes of reality. And when I start connecting to ascended masters, I was really fascinated by them because they were human beings just like you and I. And what they did through many, many, many incarnations, they've reached the ripeness of their soul that they were able to activate their spiritual light body to such degree that they were able to stop reincarnation cycle in a very conscious way and to go to a new level of service to humanity as guides, as masters, as teachers. And ascended masters are most relatable to us because they know the struggles and the trials of human experience, versus if we work with archangels or angels who never took the human incarnation. They won't be able to have that level of relatability as ascended masters do, right? Ascended masters know what it means to be in the body. They know what it means to go through the seasons and cycles of life, how to go through youth and through maturity and through the process of coming to the elder age. So ascended masters are some of the most effective and benevolent guides for humanity at this current time. And there's a whole council of them, right? So the ascended masters, they come together and each one holds a particular side of curriculum to guide humanity. So ascended masters Yeshua and Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, are truly the keepers of very unique codes of sacred union. We can call it a unique template, right? Kind of like a geometrical template that when we begin to work with them, through our relationship with them, we begin to activate these new ways of seeing ourselves, new ways of relating within our relationships, specifically intimate relationships. And we are guided to this unique kind of union that is based on the alignment of the soul mission, alignment of the heart desire, alignment of this pathway called the tantric way, the tantric pathway of the soul. So I'll speak more about that, but this is the codes that this lineage holds. And if you are yearning, if you've naturally been drawn to this kind of a curriculum of learning through the body, learning through sacred sexuality, learning through the path of the ritual, learning through the path of the mysteries, then today is a very sacred day to honor and to remember this lineage. Mary Magdalene, to me, is a divine example of a woman of wisdom, a priestess of Isis, and also an oracle and a healer, a very powerful healer, and an example of sovereignty. When we learn her story through different channel transmissions, two that I name, they're very beautiful. One is called the Magdalene Manuscript, and that one is a sort of like a manual for activation this activation of a deeper remembrance of your body. You can learn different tantric exercises that you can practice with yourself. And when you step into a sacred union, you can practice with your partner. And they're all exercises and practices that were taught in the ancient temples of goddess Isis, right? And and goddess Isis has been revered as the mother, the mother of everything created. She was revered as nature personified. And at that time, Egypt was the center of all mysteries. So if you were on the path of initiation, you would make a pilgrimage to Egypt, right? And you would spend many, many years there training in the mysteries of how to activate your divine fire, your kundalini, through ancient practices, and how to move through your physical incarnation as a true awakened immortal. So Mary Magdalene was a priestess of Isis. So she was trained since early age at the temples of Isis how to work with her kundalini energy, how to work with the power of breath and visualization and concentration, right? She was a true priestess. And another way we describe the lineage that she represents is the lineage of the rose. And I love rose as a metaphor because the rose, you see, I have roses here, beautiful roses. And I brought you this one that grew in my small little rose garden. If in the Eastern tradition of Buddhism and Hinduism, lotus is a chosen flower to represent the transformation of consciousness, starting from growing in the mud and moving through this journey of blooming into this beautiful flower. Rose is a representation of this lineage because it represents the beauty, right, of when our heart blooms as a rose. So this is a representation of our open heart that is filled with love, that is rooted in unity, in non-separation. But rose also has thorns, and this to me is a symbol of the duality of life, that life has incredible beauty and also deep challenges, and they both help us grow. One second, I'm going to close the door. We have the sounds of life. So whenever I look at the rose, I am inspired to remember that life can be understood through these flowers. We won't have beauty without thorns. Thorns are just as part of the rose as the flower. So just so in our life, we will all have these challenges and experiences that help us become stronger and uncover our inner strength. And everything that comes into our life that feels like a challenge, like a test, like initiation, helps us bloom in the heart, right? So this is the lineage of the rose. And also this lineage is deeply rooted in a ritual as a language of communication with the spirit world. So we can contemplate on the rose, on the impermanence of life, of the beauty of the impermanence. And when I contemplate on that, what I discover is not to take anything for granted. And when you have an experience of beauty, truly live it, truly be present with this amazing beauty. When you go through experience of challenge, imagine daring to open to your challenge with your full heart instead of contracting and being afraid of the challenge. You train your consciousness to open even more. And then eventually you develop this ability to welcome it all, to welcome the thorns of life, to welcome the bloom of life, and to see the beauty in both. And that's the teachings of this lineage. Now, I will share a little bit about a very special being, the grandmother of Yeshua. Her name was Anna, and so many people have been blessed with having a beloved grandmother in their life who saw them for who they are, who loved them unconditionally, and who played a role of a spiritual guide. My grandmother had a name of Anna as well, and I loved her with all my heart. I actually had two grandmothers with the same name, Anna. And I thought it was so synchronistic that the name of grandmother of Yeshua, of Jesus, was Anna. And she was a prophet of the lineage. We can look at the story archetypally and symbolically. And I can say this boldly, that if you following the path of a mystic, it is because somewhere in your lineage there was a grandmother or grandparent who was holding that mystical thread, who was a seer, who was a healer, who incarnated to prepare the way for you. So one of the reasons I take a stand for honoring the elders in our life, because the elders prepared the way for those of us who came afterwards. When we begin to revere the wisdom of the elders again, we begin to heal our society, truly heal our society. We're standing on the shoulders of our elders, who are standing on the shoulders of their elders. So the grandmother Anna is all about divine mission as an archetype. Imagine having a prophecy that in your lineage will come a great teacher who will bring a new consciousness to the planet at the most darkest time. Imagine having that prophecy and being open to carry that out, being open to be a preparer of the way. The grandmother Anna prepared the mother of Yeshua, Mary. And I can only imagine how many conversations they have had in private, waiting for the ripeness and for the arrival of great teacher. And I can only imagine the conversation and the connection all three of them shared. These mystical women that in their time have made a lot of sacrifices to make a spiritual leadership of Yeshua possible. I recently have learned that the word sacrifice is rooted in a Latin word that stands for make sacred. And I thought it was really profound and beautiful. Sacrifice is to make sacred. When we walk the path of a sacred leadership, there will be sacrifices asked of us. We will be asked to sacrifice our lower self, our impatience, our ego, our judgment, our sense of entitlement, our sense of self-centeredness. We'll be asked to purify those aspects of ourselves. And we'll be asked to honor these higher ideals. We will be invited to continue to surrender our small plans for our life, our small personal ambitions on the altar of devotion. So a higher plan can incarnate through us, through our lives. so we can carry out this divine assignment and divine mission. Yes, sacrifice to make sacred. Isn't it beautiful? I love that because it's not, yeah, it elevates everything. And then there is another book that I'd like to share with you that I shared in my email community today. Love Letters from Mary Magdalene, and it's a channeled text, right? So the way ascended masters speak to us is through telepathic communication, through clairvoyant gifts, that when we open up our extrasensory perceptions, our antenna opens, we begin to hear and to sense and to see these benevolent beings of pure light who are guiding humanity, and the way that they contact us is through telepathy and our mystical gifts. So, Mary Magdalene, one of my favorite parts of her story is how she recognized her beloved, how she recognized her divine counterpart. There's this amazing vibration of recognition that we can learn from, right? That we can see each other on a deep level. We can recognize only through the eyes, through the soul, right? And with so much confusion that exists on the planet when we have too much information and too many dividing opinions and too much noise, how do we recognize? How do we recognize? And one of the ways we recognize is through the eyes. And I have found that those who hold the light, they have a unique eye sparkle, that the sparkle of a soul that has found peace within. The sparkle of the soul that has nothing to prove or convince you to believe what they believe. They simply live what they believe to be true for them. And then they share their light and they share their soul essence with those with whom they are resonance, right? So Mary Magdalene was a priestess in the temple of Isis, and she had a vision that one day she will meet a very unique soul who will be her partner in carrying out her divine mission. And she was a woman of wealth. I find it really interesting and fascinating that she was a mysterious benefactor, and she was actually financially supporting Yeshua's mission. She inherited her wealth, different channel traditions. Some say that she was raised as a wealthy woman. Her parents had a significant amount of wealth. And other stream of channel information will say that she was married to a wealthy man who died of illness, and she became a young widow. Whichever storyline rings true to you, the one part of the information that she was sovereign, she was financially free, she was independent, and she was able to use the resources that she had access to fund the divine mission. And to me, this is an example of a conscious feminine who has access to significant amount of resources, will use that resources to further the divine mission, to fund the causes and the projects that she believes in will bring more light to the planet. This is the new code of prosperity. Prosperity of the new earth will flow to beings who are here to serve the new kind of values that are rooted in the sacred feminine values, which is awakening of the heart, which is a true love of humanity, which is bringing people together, which is building new sense of community. which is nourishing the hearts with spiritual wisdom, with spiritual flame, which is creating more beauty in the world, because beauty heals and beauty nourishes the soul. Another aspect of the beauty of Mary Magdalene legacy is through her training as a priestess. She was able to support her partner in strengthening his spiritual body. In ancient mystery traditions, it would called the Ka body, the divine vehicle, the part of the Merkaba. And when the divine vehicle of a Ka body is nourished, then the human being can manifest at the speed of thought, at the speed of light. The strength of our Ka body determines our ability to manifest with the speed of thought. If we're not able to manifest, we get to look to strengthen our Ka body, our spiritual body, right? And our Ka body is strengthened through the power of love, through the power of ecstasy, through the power of ecstatic union with the beloved. And this is why we have these deep, deep codes of divine union that is coming online in the last 3 years, I would say more so. People searching and calling for their true beloved and doing the work of purifying attachments and cleansing the lenses of the perceptions, because when we are able to become really pure in our intention, we have an ability to recognize our beloved when they show up. But if we are stuck in our idea of how the beloved should look like, we can miss them, right? And by divine grace, they will make their appearance again when we are ripe and ready to truly recognize them. And until then, we hold that vision in our heart. So the sacred union happens within our heart first. Everything happens within first and then manifests on our external plane. So the sacred union, as I experience, it's the union of spirit and matter. It's the union of yin and yang. It's a union of lunar, receptive, intuitive self with solar, dynamic, active self, right? It's this alchemical union of all polarities in a sacred temple of the heart. And that's another code that Mary Magdalene brought together with her beloved, is the sacred union of spirit and matter. Remember, in their time, the body, the ideology of that time, the time of great division of spirit and matter. You know, spirit was exalted and the body was damned, right? The masculine was exalted and the feminine was not revered, right? On a mass scale at that time. So they were true revolutionaries who, through the embodiment, brought these polarized aspects of experience into a deeper harmony by risking their lives, risking a lot was on the line. Another aspect of the Mary Magdalene that wants to be named is her incredible healing abilities. Because of the environment and oppression of that time, Yeshua was the public leadership role, and she was behind supporting his mission through her healing abilities. She would accompany him, and when Yeshua would teach and bring these new teachings, they were very radical for their time. They were rooted in uniting people through the power of the heart. A very controversial teachings for his time. Mary Magdalene was the one who was harmonizing the crowds, who were using her healing hands, right? Her healing hands to bring the light codes through her body and to assist people to open their consciousness to receive what her beloved was teaching. So they were working together, even though one was more in a public role. And at that time, the sacred feminine was supporting the masculine in the leadership role. We live in a unique time where the sacred feminine is on the front lines, where so many visionary women are on the front lines, and a true divine masculine expressed in man is the one who understands from a deep embodiment that they are here to serve the feminine values, the feminine vision, right? The sacred feminine. So when I meet a man who truly awakened to divine masculine, the number one question they tell me, they share with me, and they say, how can I serve the goddess? How can I serve Pachamama? How can I serve Gaia? How can I be the protector of this sacred planet? How can I serve the feminine? This is the question of a man who truly awoken to his divine masculine. How can I serve the mother? How can I serve Pachamama? How can I protect this land? And archetypally, and then the feminine loves the masculine and appreciates and honors and receives. And there's this alchemy of receiving that we are learning through the sacred union, because the feminine receives from the masculine the benevolent protection and love and divinely inspired service. And the masculine is here to learn to receive from the feminine, ability of the masculine to receive the way the feminine sees him, the way that the feminine sees through him and sees him and his gifts and everything that he adds and the way he serves and the way he offers his gifts to the feminine. So the alchemy of receiving, how we're learning to receive from each other, we learn to appreciate each other. We see that we're truly, the divine mission can only be accomplished when we learn to work together. And that's the alchemy of the sacred union, when we begin to honor our inner feminine, our inner masculine, we begin to value these both aspects of who we are, then we're able to bring the same appreciation and honor in our relationships. So this lineage of Mary Magdalene, 2-2, July 2-2, 2 plus 2, make 4. 4 is the number of this earth plane, right? The 4 sides, the fourth dimensional reality that gives birth to the fifth dimensional consciousness. We can understand the process of life. We can understand this mystical dance of spirit and matter. We can understand that we are standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. We are standing on every single sacrifice that they were willing to make the path for us, that every generation is blessed to receive more and more sovereignty, more and more freedom of expression because of the sacrifice that have made before, of all the things that made sacred. And why Mary Magdalene is such a powerful archetype, we need more powerful, sovereign, wise female archetypes in the public way, in the leadership roles right now, for the future generations to grow up watching the feminine being revered again. on a mass scale, on a global scale. So my heart is filled with this objective optimism and dynamism and a profound transformation that we're witnessing on a global level. These ancient teachings unveiling themselves and make themselves available to those who are humble to learn from them. They will veil themselves from those who have not set arrogance aside just yet. So the tantric way, the way that Mary Magdalene and Yeshua were the tantric beloveds, it's their love, it's their kundalini practices that were giving them this extraordinary abilities to perform miracles and to hold and channel powerful cosmic energy. Because once you awaken kundalini, it's an infinite process, infinite awakening of kundalini, never ending. You can keep activating the sacred, divine, immortal fire. So may we honor each other on this day, those of us who hold the mystical flame of ancient wisdom, those of us who are being called to practice the way of the rose, those of us who are yearning to activate mystical consciousness and to receive all that comes with this path. Because one day the seeker becomes a seer. And when the ancient eye opens, it will never close again. We actually have 3 ancient eyes in our body. We have the pineal gland that tends to open first, our ability to communicate with the higher mind. Then the heart eye opens when we begin to make that courageous journey from living in the head to living in the heart. And the final eye that opens is the womb eye. A womb eye for women and the hara eye for men. And it's a seat of our ancient awareness, where we begin to manifest through embodiment. When that eye opens, our embodiment journey really begins. We begin to vibrate a special tone, a vibration, a frequency that is recognized by our allies and by our soul group. And it's through this vibration we recognize each other. And we say, here we are, we're dancing again this lifetime. So if you'd like to go deeper, my dear friends, 2 books that I recommend for you. Magdalene manuscript, where you can learn the story and the deeper layers. You can learn about the profound love Mary Magdalene had for her beloved and how she was pushed out from recorded his story. But that's all right, because her story could never be erased. Her story lives in DNA. Her story lives in a sacred lineage. Her story is an ancient story that keeps reincarnating in every heart who wants nothing but truth, but cosmic truth. So if you are a keeper of this lineage, is one of the carrier of the lineage, thank you for walking the path of the priestesses of the rose. May you know that divine mission that you serve provides a sacred field of protection over you and your life. The divine mission that you serve is something that you chose to come back. You had many reasons to not incarnate again. But you wanted to finish something that you've started a few lifetimes. And the divine mission was so significant that one lifetime wasn't enough. It wasn't long enough. So you decided to come back to finish something that you've started. And this is why there has been this urgency in your soul since childhood. This is why you knew this lifetime is special. This is why you knew you needed to find your tribe, you needed to awaken. This is why you knew you needed to find a real story, a mystical thread. And this is why you chose to take another life, another incarnation. Bless you. Thank you. Until we meet again.